monsters. They're scary and they kill people.
Today we're going to talk about brewing, which is something I've never talked about before.
We've got some fancy math tricks you've never heard of before.
Welcome to Pack Tactics, where we're scary monsters.
I'm an alligator.
Full transparency, I'm not a game designer, and I don't think dungeon masters are game designers either. But what I do understand is the scaling of monsters and what numbers to look for. Unfortunately, a lot of it does have to do with feel, because one table who's just playing normally is vastly different from a high optimization table who has 23 AC, is comboing together with their friends, and can handle 32 times deadly encounters. The way you brew for these two tables is sort of the same, except the interesting approach with high optimization is you can aim for more experimental features rather than challenge. The positive thing with a broken party is you know they'll survive whatever the hell you throw at them. So instead of giving them a challenge, you should focus more on the story or experiment with interesting mechanics. What's important to get across right away before we get into brewing is you should try not to have anything hard counter players. Like for example, and this is in the base game, the flying dragon with 10-foot reach can hard counter any marshal who doesn't have a ranged weapon or the reach. That means that player is useless if you keep the dragon in the air. And if the player can't do anything, then that's not fun. Land the dragon and let them do things.
But Cobalt, optimizers hard counter DMs all the time. Why can't the DM do it to them?
It's just terrible gameplay when you're the player and you can't do anything for like half an hour or longer. The controls are wrenched out of your hands. It might have been wrenched out fairly with a single save, but being shut down for the whole fight is just boring for the player. There's a difference between multiple failed saves and a single failed save. One feels more fair than the other. Same goes with damage. Being one-hit KO'd just feels bad. Let's not get too much into that. I know you guys have played video games before and experienced something like this to some degree. The difference with a DM being one-hit KO'd, hard countered, or completely shut down is they always have something to do. They're controlling the world itself. And if they can't do anything, then the DM can just end the encounter immediately and let the players progress. The DM is never sitting there not doing anything for half an hour. That's the difference. They can just throw the next encounter. A DM is not going to feel it unless they're emotionally attached to an encounter. But that's the wrong way to DM. I agree with the 2014 DMG that the DM should be an impartial referee. Okay, listen up, kobolds and gators. Boom! Introducing the exclusive, the must-have, limited time only Pack Tactics dice!
Yeah, it's the coolest swag 2025 has to offer. Everyone and their moms are in line to get this drip. There's over 200 backers so far.
You got that right, Gator. Thank you to everyone out there, including your moms. By the way, special shout out to my mom. She's watching this video. Hello.
Can I get her number? I heard I was the favorite on the show.
Screw you, Gator. Anyways, we've actually reached our goal. Right now, the big dice are unlocked. With a little bit more support, Gator's adventure will unlock.
I made that. It's about saving a gator princess.
Seriously though, thank you so much for your support so far. I'm wagging my tail every day. This is a dream come true. I get to play at over 200 tables every week. For those who haven't bought dice yet, the Kickstarter's still up for 25 days. So ride your phantom steeds over there and power game. Link in the description. Back to the video. A lot of my opinions about giving challenges to players is just using a dungeon rather than playing around with numbers for a specific monster or encounter. But I'm going to show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. In this video, I'm going to show you how to scale monsters and how to create a monster from scratch. And I'm talking numbers wise because that's where people struggle the most. I'm not going to be like, oh, my homebrew gator monster with 4 arms and it has this and that feature. You guys can do that yourself. I'm just going to give you good numbers to look for. Let's first start with scaling. We're gonna grab a random monster and tweak it. Let's say I'm DMing for a party that's level 5. They're normal veteran players that strategize a little bit. Here is a Death Kiss. I love them. They're very cute to roleplay. It's a CR10 monster. The thing with single monsters is they just get focus fire down. This Death Kiss is gonna do 2 things and then they're most likely dead. You can absolutely give it legendary actions and let it do more things, but they're still just going to die very quickly due to focus fire. We can use trash mops, which is my preferred method, but let's say we want to make it deadlier and not juggle around a lot of different stat blocks. Here's what you do. You make 2 Death Kisses and you divide their HP by 2. So instead of 142 HP, they both have 71. Everything else in the stat block, you leave it alone. This encounter is a lot more deadlier than if I gave 1 Death Kiss legendary actions. This is a super easy brew. They're squishier, but they do a lot more damage. Don't focus fire with them and try to convey they're weaker than normal. Maybe they had a battle before the party spots them. That's a little bit of storytelling. Having 2 targets here won't prevent the party from focus firing, but the average party doesn't focus fire. The veterans here are gonna just attack whoever they feel. Anyways, you can do this HP cut with a lot of high CR monsters that don't have legendary actions to balance them around tier 2 players. And if you do that, they will be a lot more threatening. But you need to be a little bit careful with some features though, but that's where we get into the next step.
We need to go back to the Bible page.
That's right. We're going back to the 2014 DMG and we're flipping to chapter 9. This page here, Monster Statistics by Challenge Rating, is the Bible. It's the only thing worth reading in the DMG. Sadly, it's flawed, and it was never updated in the 2024 DMG. In fact, it got scrapped, which makes me really mad. But despite its flaws, this page is still relevant. Every time I do damage calculations, even in videos, I'm referring to this page. Anyways, here's what you gotta know. The AC, DC, and proficiency bonus are still up to date. Those are the ones that we care about the most. Ignore the damage/round. This assumes a 100% chance to hit, which sucks. And ignore the hit point scaling. The further up you go with it, the more wrong it is. As for CR, instead of challenge rating, think player level instead. My players in this example are level 5, so we should be looking at CR5 scaling. I said before that the Death Kisses don't need any more changes, but let's say I'm not confident with this party. They make too many misplays and struggle in places I did not expect. Then I'm scaling the Death Kisses down slightly. We change the proficiency bonus, AC and DC to whatever level they are, which in this case is 5. So we look at CR5. As we can see here, the Death Kisses already have the AC scaled to 15. The proficiency is 4. We change it to 3. That still makes the attack bonus higher than the average CR5, but that's fine. As for the DCs, I don't need to change the DC for escape, but I will decrease the scaling for the con save to 15. Usually enemies forcing saves is a billion times scarier than their attacks, so that one's really important to scale. And there we go. Usually this will be enough scaling for majority of high CR monsters versus tier 2 parties. It's not hard. Some parties will struggle a bit, but they'll survive so long as they do some things correctly. And you don't focus fire that hard. You should convey that this is a lesser creature somehow. A player who is versed with monsters might call for a complete retreat on sight. And we don't want them to do that. You might say that's metagaming, and I agree. But even in character, I do think it's a valid call. This is an experienced adventurer who knows their limitations. So I don't see any problem with them metagaming. Being afraid for your life is valid. So you need to be extra descriptive with the condition of these monsters. And if they don't get it, then I would just straight up say, it looks like they're bloodied. That's false, but, well, it gets the point across. Dividing the HP pool by 2 is basically bloodied.
But Cobalt, what if I'm doing this brew with something like Young Red Dragons?
Double breath weapon out of the gates will definitely wipe the party. The best way is to have one breath weapon around round and scale the damage down to fireball damage. Once the breath goes off, both of the dragons need to roll for recharge. That's a hard encounter, I've DM'd that before. It worked pretty well, but that was an optimized party though. Anyways, you guys get the gist. A lot of it is just you need to feel around with your party through play, and actually eyeball it, as awful as that sounds. Like I said from the beginning, I'm not a game designer, nor do I know your specific table. For more advanced and more accurate numbers, you need to do average damage and DPR calculations versus your party's AC, which I've shown off many times before, but that can be quite a bit of work, which I don't expect you to do. I would rather have you focus more on the story and make the dungeon a believable environment for the players to interact with. Challenge comes secondary. But to give you a quick guideline for creating a monster completely from scratch or being accurate with numbers, look at your party's AC. Whoever has the second highest AC, take that number and subtract it by 9. Make your homebrew monster's attack bonus to that number. So if they have 18 AC, then the monster should have a +9 attack bonus. That will give them a 60% chance to hit against that party member. That's a good start to make a threatening enemy. The damage dice doesn't need to be high, by the way. I think making the players squirm a little is usually enough. And also, I wouldn't brew like this very often. It's for special occasions. If majority of players have the shield spell, you should account for that too, but it really depends on the ranges of the party's AC, and how they play really. As for the AC/DC, follow the Bible page. As for the hit points, use the 2024 Monster Manual. Find a monster that is similar to what you're aiming for, and snag their HP pool, and that's it. You don't need to do a CR calculation, you're not publishing this monster. This is just something for you. We can get even more into damage calculations and DCs, but I want to keep this a basic guide. What I've given you here is plenty of things to play around with to give your players a challenge and see some high CR monsters earlier than normal, and to create a monster that is an actual threat. We can talk about feature optimization as well, but that can be another video. I feel like that's a quick one, but who knows. Anyways, end the video. Check out the Copal and Gator Dice. They're live on Kickstarter right now. Thank you for watching. Bye bye!